Kevin Martinez wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked through the tall grass near the research station. The two suns of Kepler 442b were setting, painting the sky in bright orange and purple colors. He carried his sample bag and scanning device, looking for new insects and small creatures to study. This was his favorite time of day when the air was cooler and most animals came out to hunt for food. The other scientists at the station always made fun of Kevin for spending so much time studying bugs and small animals. They called him names like Bug Boy and Creature Freak behind his back. Dr. Helen Carter, his boss, thought he was wasting time on useless research. She wanted him to focus on finding minerals and studying the planet's weather instead. Kevin did not care what they thought. He loved learning about new life forms. At 23 years old, he was the youngest scientist at the station, and he knew the others did not take him seriously. They saw him as just a skinny kid with thick glasses who preferred animals to people. Kevin had always been different, even back on Earth. He was the quiet student who sat alone in the cafeteria reading books about alien life while other kids played sports. The research station was built like a small city with tall metal walls around it. The walls protected the humans from the dangerous creatures that lived on this planet. Most of the animals here were bigger and more aggressive than anything found on Earth. The station had strong energy shields and armed guards to keep everyone safe. Very few people ever went outside the walls, and when they did, they always traveled in groups with weapons. Kevin was different. He often went out alone to collect samples, though he was not supposed to. He had learned to move quietly and avoid the dangerous areas where the big predators hunted. He knew the safe paths and the best hiding spots. The planet was scary, but it was also beautiful and full of amazing creatures that no human had ever seen before. As Kevin walked toward the outer fence of the research area, he heard a strange sound. It was a low, deep growling that seemed to come from somewhere far away. The sound was different from anything he had heard before on this planet. It was not the sharp cry of a hunting bird or the hissing of the snake-like creatures that lived in the rocks. This sound was deeper and sadder. Like an animal in great pain, Kevin stopped walking and listened carefully. The sound came again, echoing from a rocky area about half a mile away. He knew he should go back to the station and report what he heard, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He had always been the type of person who needed to know what was happening, even when it might be dangerous. He looked around to make sure no one was watching him. Then he climbed over the outer fence. The fence was not very high, and Kevin had climbed it many times before. He landed softly on the other side and began walking toward the sound. His heart was beating fast, but he kept going. The rocky area was filled with deep cracks and small caves. The ground was covered with loose stones that made clicking sounds under his feet. Kevin tried to walk more quietly, but the rocks made it hard to move without making noise. The growling sound came again, closer this time. It sounded like a very large animal that was hurt or sick. Kevin climbed up a small hill and looked down into a narrow valley between two rocky walls. What he saw made him stop breathing for a moment. There, lying on its side near a pile of rocks, was the biggest animal he had ever seen. It looked like a giant wolf, but it was much larger than any wolf that ever lived on Earth. The creature was about the size of a small spaceship, with thick black fur that seemed to shine in the dim light. The animal was clearly in pain. It kept making the sad growling sounds that Kevin had heard earlier. One of its front paws was held up in the air, and Kevin could see something shiny sticking out of it. The creature tried to bite at whatever was stuck in its paw, but it could not reach the spot. Every time it moved, it made more noise that showed how much pain it was in. Kevin had never seen anything like this creature before. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Its fur was so dark it looked almost black, but when the light hit it the right way, Kevin could see that it was really a very dark blue color. The animal had bright yellow eyes that glowed like small lamps in the growing darkness. The creature suddenly noticed Kevin standing on the hill above it. It lifted its huge head and looked right at him. Kevin felt like he could not move. The animal's eyes were not like the eyes of a simple beast. There was something intelligent in those yellow eyes, something that made Kevin think this creature was much smarter than it looked. For a long moment, the human and the alien creature stared at each other. Kevin expected the animal to jump up and attack him, but it did not. Instead, it just looked at him with what seemed like curiosity. The creature was clearly too weak and hurt to be dangerous right now. Kevin slowly climbed down into the valley, moving very carefully so he would not scare the animal. As he got closer, he could see more details. The creature was even bigger than he had thought. Its head alone was larger than Kevin's whole body. The animal watched him come closer but did not try to run away or attack. When Kevin was about 20 feet away, he could see what was wrong with the creature's paw. There was a large piece of metal stuck deep in the flesh between two of its toes. The metal piece was about the size of Kevin's hand, and it looked like it came from some kind of machine or spaceship. The wound around the metal was red and swollen, and Kevin could smell the bad odor of infection. The creature tried to growl at Kevin when he got too close, but the sound was weak and full of pain. Kevin could see that the animal was very sick. Its breathing was heavy and difficult, and its eyes were getting dim. If someone did not help it soon, the creature would die from the infection in its paw. Kevin looked at the dying animal and felt sorry for it. He had always been the kind of person who wanted to help hurt animals, even when it was dangerous. Back on Earth, he had rescued injured birds and fixed the broken wings of butterflies. His mother used to joke that Kevin would try to help a hungry lion if he found one. The creature was clearly intelligent. Kevin could see it in the way the animal looked at him, like it was trying to understand what Kevin was thinking. The creature seemed to know that Kevin was not there to hurt it. Maybe it even understood that Kevin wanted to help. Kevin made a decision that would change his life forever. He would find a way to help this amazing creature, even if it meant breaking the rules of the research station. He could not just walk away and let such a beautiful and intelligent animal die. Alone in pain, he took out his communication device and looked at it for a moment. He could call for help from the station, but he knew what would happen. Dr. Carter would send armed guards to kill the creature because it was too dangerous to leave alive. The military people at the station would never try to help an alien predator. Kevin turned off his communication device and put it back in his pocket. He would have to help the creature by himself, in secret. He did not know how he would do it, but he had to try. The creature was still watching him with those intelligent yellow eyes, and Kevin thought he saw something like hope in them. As the night grew darker, Kevin began to plan how he could save the life of the most amazing creature he had ever seen. Kevin spent the whole night thinking about the injured creature. He could not sleep, and he kept looking at the medical supplies in his small laboratory. He had some basic medicine for treating cuts and infections, but he was not sure if human medicine would work on an alien animal. He also had some pain medicine and tools for small surgery, but everything was made for humans, not for giant wolf-like creatures. The next morning, Kevin acted normal around the other scientists. He ate breakfast with them and pretended to work. On his regular research, Dr. Carter asked him about his work, and he showed her some insect samples he had collected the day before. She seemed happy that he was focusing on his assigned tasks instead of wandering around outside the station. When lunchtime came, Kevin told everyone he was going to work in his laboratory for the afternoon. Instead, he filled a bag with medical supplies, some food, and a bottle of clean water. He waited until the other scientists were busy. Then he sneaked out of the station through a back door that was not watched by the guards. Kevin climbed over the fence again and walked quickly toward the rocky valley where he had found the creature. His heart was beating fast because he was scared and excited at the same time. He did not know if the creature would still be alive, or if it would try to attack him when he got close. When Kevin reached the top of the hill, he looked down into the valley. The creature was still there, but it looked much worse than before. It was lying on its side and breathing very slowly. Its yellow eyes were almost closed, and it did not move when Kevin made noise walking down the hill. Kevin walked closer to the creature and spoke to it in a soft voice. He did not know if it could understand human language, but he wanted to let it know that he was there to help. The creature opened its eyes and looked at him, but it did not have enough energy to lift its head up close. Kevin could see that the infection in the creature's paw was getting worse. The wound was bigger and redder than before, and there was yellow liquid coming out of it. The smell was terrible, and Kevin had to cover his nose with his shirt. He knew that if he did not help the creature soon, it would die within a day or two. Kevin opened his bag and took out some antiseptic liquid that was used to clean wounds. He also took out some clean cloth and a small knife that he used for his scientific work. The creature watched him with weak eyes, but it did not try to move away. Kevin moved very slowly toward the creature's injured paw. He expected the animal to growl or snap at him, but it did not. Instead, it seemed to understand that Kevin was trying to help it. The creature even moved its paw a little bit to make it easier for Kevin to see the wound. Kevin carefully cleaned the area around the metal piece with the antiseptic. The creature made soft sounds of pain, but it did not try to bite him. Kevin was amazed by how intelligent the animal seemed to be. It was like the creature knew that the cleaning would hurt, but would also help it get better after cleaning the wound. Kevin could see the metal piece more clearly. It was not just a simple piece of metal. It looked like it was part of some kind of electronic device, with small wires and colored lights that were still blinking. Kevin realized that this was probably part of a spaceship or some other advanced technology. Kevin tried to pull the metal piece out of the creature's paw, but it was stuck too deep. Every time he pulled on it, the creature made sounds of pain and more blood came out of the wound. Kevin realized that he would need to do a real surgery to remove the metal safely. Kevin had learned some basic surgery skills in his medical training, but he had never operated on anything bigger than a small animal. This creature was huge, and he was not sure if his small tools would be strong enough. But he had to try. Because the creature would die if the metal stayed in its paw, Kevin gave the creature some pain medicine by mixing it with water and letting the animal drink it. He was not sure how much to give, so he guessed based on the creature's size. After a few minutes, the creature seemed to be in less pain, and its breathing became more regular. Kevin used his knife to carefully cut around the metal piece. He worked very slowly and stopped often to clean away blood and check that the creature was okay. The operation took more than 2 hours, and Kevin's hands were shaking from being nervous and tired. Finally, Kevin was able to pull the metal piece out of the creature's paw. As soon as the metal was removed, the creature seemed to feel better. It lifted its head and looked at Kevin with what seemed like gratitude. Kevin cleaned the wound again and wrapped it with clean cloth. Kevin also gave the creature some antibiotic medicine to fight the infection. He mixed the medicine with some food he had brought and was surprised when the creature ate it without any problem. The creature seemed to trust Kevin completely now. Over the next few days, Kevin visited the creature every day. He brought fresh water, food, and medicine. He also brought some of his scientific equipment to study the creature and learn more about it. The creature seemed to enjoy Kevin's company and would lift its head and make soft sounds when Kevin arrived. Kevin discovered many amazing things about the creature. It was much more intelligent than any animal he had ever seen. The creature could understand simple gestures and seemed to remember things from day to day. It also had some kind of ability to sense Kevin's emotions. When Kevin was happy, the creature seemed more relaxed. When Kevin was worried, the creature would look at him with concern. The creature was also learning about Kevin. It watched everything Kevin did and seemed to understand that Kevin was different from other humans. Sometimes Kevin felt like the creature was trying to communicate with him, but he did not know how to understand what it was trying to say. Kevin named the creature Nyx, after the ancient earth goddess of night because of its beautiful dark fur. Nyx seemed to like the name and would turn its head when Kevin said it. As Nyx got better, Kevin learned more about its background. The metal piece that had been stuck in Nyx's paw was definitely part of advanced technology. Kevin studied it in his laboratory and discovered that it had small computer chips and energy sources that were far more advanced than anything humans had created. Kevin realized that Nyx was not from this planet. The creature was probably from another world, maybe? Even another star system. Kevin wondered if Nyx had been on a spaceship that crashed on this planet. And if there were other creatures like Nyx somewhere else, Kevin also discovered that Nyx was not just intelligent, but also had some kind of psychic ability. When Kevin touched Nyx's fur, he sometimes had strange dreams or visions. He saw images of other worlds with different colored skies and strange plants. He saw other creatures that looked like Nyx, living in groups and working together. Kevin realized that Nyx was probably lonely and scared. The creature had been alone on this dangerous planet for a long time, hurt and unable to call for help. Kevin felt sorry for Nyx and decided that he would do everything he could to help the creature. After a week of treatment, Nyx was much better. The infection was gone and the wound was healing well. Nyx could walk on the injured paw again, though it was still a little sore. The creature was also eating well and seemed to have more energy. Kevin was happy that he had saved Nyx's life. But he was also worried. He knew that he could not keep visiting Nyx in secret forever. Soon, someone at the research station would notice that he was spending so much time away from his work. Kevin also knew that if anyone discovered Nyx, they would probably try to capture or kill the creature. Kevin decided that he needed to find a way to protect Nyx and maybe even find a way to help the creature contact others of its kind. He did not know how he would do it, but he felt responsible for Nyx now. The creature trusted him, and Kevin could not let it down. As Kevin walked back to the research station after another visit with Nyx, he did not notice Dr. Carter watching him from the observation deck. She had been wondering why Kevin was spending so much time away from the station, and she had decided to find out what he was doing. Dr. Helen Carter had been watching Kevin for 3 days now. She noticed that he was always tired in the mornings and that his medical supplies were disappearing. Kevin also seemed nervous and kept checking his watch during meetings. Dr. Carter had worked with young scientists before, and she knew when someone was hiding something. On the 4th day, Dr. Carter decided to follow Kevin when he left the station. She waited until Kevin climbed over the fence, then she put on her protective suit and followed him at a distance. She was careful to stay hidden behind rocks and trees so Kevin would not see her. Dr. Carter followed Kevin to the rocky valley where Nyx was hiding. When she reached the top of the hill and looked down, she could not believe what she saw. Kevin was sitting next to the biggest predator she had ever seen, and he was feeding it like it was a pet dog. The creature was eating food from Kevin's hand and making soft sounds that seemed almost like purring. Dr. Carter was so shocked that she dropped her scanning device. The noise echoed through the valley and both Kevin and Nyx looked up at her. Kevin's face went white with fear when he saw his boss standing on the hill above him. Dr. Carter immediately reached for her emergency communication device to call for security guards. Kevin jumped up and ran toward her, shouting for her to wait. Nyx also stood up, and Dr. Carter could see how huge the creature really was. It was taller than Kevin even when it was standing on 4 legs. Kevin climbed up the hill as fast as he could and grabbed Dr. Carter's arm before she could send the emergency signal. He was breathing hard and looked very scared, but he was also determined to protect Nyx. Dr. Carter stared at Kevin like he had gone crazy. She could not understand why he was protecting such a dangerous creature. She told Kevin to get away from the animal immediately and said that she was going to call for armed guards to kill it before it could hurt anyone. Kevin begged Dr. Carter to listen to him before she made the call. He told her that Nyx was not just a wild animal but was actually intelligent and peaceful. Dr. Carter did not believe him at first, but Kevin asked her to watch Nyx for just a few minutes before deciding what to do. Dr. Carter agreed to wait, but she kept her finger on the emergency button of her communication device. She was ready to call for help if the creature made any aggressive moves toward them. Kevin walked back down to Nyx and began to demonstrate the creature's intelligence. He showed Dr. Carter how Nyx could understand simple commands and respond to its name. Kevin also showed her how Nyx could solve basic problems, like figuring out how to get food from a container with a complicated lid. Dr. Carter watched with amazement as Kevin and Nyx worked together. The creature was clearly much smarter than any animal she had ever seen. When Kevin pointed to different objects, Nyx would look at them and sometimes bring them to Kevin. When Kevin made gestures, Nyx seemed to understand what they meant. The Most surprising thing was how gentle Nyx was with Kevin. The creature was careful not to hurt Kevin with its huge paws or sharp teeth. When Kevin cleaned the wound on Nyx's paw, the creature stayed very still and even seemed to be trying to help by holding its paw in the right position. Dr. Carter also noticed that Nyx seemed to be watching her carefully. The creature's yellow eyes were focused on her, and it seemed to be trying to understand whether she was a friend or an enemy. When Dr. Carter moved closer, Nyx did not growl or show its teeth. Instead, it looked at Kevin as if asking for permission. Kevin explained to Dr. Carter that Nyx had some kind of empathic ability. The creature could sense human emotions and intentions. Kevin said that Nyx knew Dr. Carter was scared but also curious, and that was why the creature was being so patient with her. After watching Kevin and Nyx interact for an hour, Dr. Carter finally put away her communication device. She was convinced that Kevin was right about Nyx being intelligent and peaceful. She had never seen anything like it in her 20 years of scientific research. Dr. Carter asked Kevin many questions about Nyx. She wanted to know how long he had been visiting the creature, how he had learned to communicate with it, and what he had discovered about its origins. Kevin told her everything, including his theories about Nyx being from another planet and the advanced technology he had found in the creature's wound. Kevin showed Dr. Carter the metal piece he had removed from Nyx's paw. Dr. Carter examined it with her scientific equipment and was amazed by what she found. The technology was far more advanced than anything humans had created. The metal contained computer systems that were still working even after being damaged. There were also energy sources that seemed to run on principles that human science did not understand. Dr. Carter realized that Kevin had made one of the most important discoveries in human history. They had found proof that intelligent life existed on other planets, and that this life was technologically advanced. This discovery would change everything humans thought they knew about the universe. Dr. Carter also realized that they had to be very careful about what they did next. If the wrong people found out about Nyx, the creature could be in great danger. Military leaders might want to capture Nyx and use it as a weapon. Other scientists might want to study Nyx in ways that could hurt or kill it. Kevin and Dr. Carter decided to work together to study Nyx and protect it at the same time. They would keep the discovery secret for now. While they learned more about the creature and its origins, Dr. Carter would help Kevin get better medical supplies and scientific equipment to study Nyx properly. Over the next few weeks, Kevin and Dr. Carter visited Nyx every day. They brought video cameras to record the creature's behavior and abilities. They also brought more advanced scientific equipment to study the metal piece and try to understand how it worked. During this time, they made many amazing discoveries about Nyx. The creature was not only intelligent but also had a complex emotional life. Nyx seemed to have feelings like sadness, happiness, curiosity, and even what looked like a sense of humor. The creature also had a strong memory and could remember things that happened days or weeks earlier. Kevin and Dr. Carter also learned that Nyx could communicate in ways they had not understood before. The creature could make different sounds that seemed to have specific meanings. Nyx could also use body language to express complex ideas. Sometimes Nyx would draw pictures in the dirt with its claws to show Kevin and Dr. Carter what it was thinking about. The most amazing discovery was that Nyx could share memories and experiences through physical contact. When Kevin touched Nyx's forehead, he sometimes saw visions of other worlds and other creatures like Nyx. Through these visions, Kevin learned that Nyx's species was called the Vorthek, and they came from a planet in a distant star system. Kevin saw that the Vorthek had once been a great civilization with beautiful cities and advanced technology. They had traveled between stars and explored many different worlds. But something terrible had happened to their home planet, and most of the Vorthek had died. Only a few survivors had escaped in spaceships to look for new homes. Kevin learned that Nyx had been part of an exploration team that was looking for a safe planet where the surviving Vorthek could live. But their spaceship had crashed on this planet many years ago, and Nyx was the only survivor. The creature had been alone ever since, waiting and hoping that other Vorthek would find it. Kevin felt very sad when he learned about Nix's tragic story. He realized that the creature had been lonely and scared for many years, living on a dangerous planet with no way to contact its own people. Kevin was amazed that Nix had survived alone for so long and that it had still been able to trust humans when Kevin first tried to help it. Dr. Carter was also moved by Nix's story. She realized that they were not just studying an alien creature but helping a refugee who had lost everything. She became determined to help Nix find other survivors of its species. Even if it meant taking risks with her own career, Kevin and Dr. Carter began studying the metal piece more carefully to see if they could repair it. They hoped that if they could fix the technology, they might be able to send a signal to other Vortex ships that were still searching for survivors. But they knew this would be difficult and dangerous work, and they were not sure if they could succeed. Everything changed when Dr. Carter had to write her monthly report to the Terran Colonial Administration. She tried to keep the report normal and not mention Nix, but her supervisors noticed that she was requesting unusual supplies and equipment. They also saw that Kevin was using much more medical supplies than usual for his research. 3 weeks after Dr. Carter discovered Nix, a message came from Earth. The Colonial Administration was sending a team of military scientists to investigate what they called unusual activity at the research station. Dr. Carter knew this was bad news, but she could not stop them from coming. Colonel Peter Hayes arrived with 6 soldiers and 2 military scientists. He was a tall, serious man with gray hair and cold blue eyes. Colonel Hayes had spent most of his career fighting in wars on different planets, and he did not trust aliens or anything he could not control. Colonel Hayes called a meeting with all the scientists at the research station. He told them that the Colonial Administration had detected strange energy signals coming from their area. He said his team was there to investigate these signals and make sure there were no threats to human safety. Dr. Carter felt sick with worry during the meeting. She knew that the energy signals probably came from the metal piece that Kevin had removed from Nix's paw. The technology was still active and sending out weak signals that Earth's monitoring systems had detected. After the meeting, Colonel Hayes asked to speak privately with Dr. Carter and Kevin. He told them that he knew they were hiding something and that he would find out what it was. He warned them that interfering with a military investigation was a serious crime that could send them to prison. Kevin tried to act normal, but he was a terrible liar. Colonel Hayes could see that Kevin was nervous and scared. The colonel decided to have his soldiers follow Kevin to see where he went when he left the station. The next day, Kevin tried to visit Nix as usual, but he did not know that 2 soldiers were following him. When Kevin reached the valley where Nix was hiding, the soldiers saw everything. They immediately called Colonel Hayes on their communication devices. Within an hour, the valley was surrounded by soldiers with heavy weapons. Colonel Hayes arrived in an armored vehicle with Dr. Carter, who had been forced to come with him. Kevin was standing next to Nix, trying to protect the creature from the soldiers, who were pointing their guns at it. Colonel Hayes got out of his vehicle and stared at Nix with amazement and excitement. He had never seen such a large and powerful creature before. In his mind, he was already thinking about how the military could use an animal like Nix as a weapon of war. Colonel Hayes ordered Kevin to move away from the creature immediately. He told his soldiers to prepare their tranquilizer guns to capture Nix alive. He wanted to take the creature back to Earth for study and possible military training. Kevin refused to move away from Nix. He stood between the creature and the soldiers, even though he knew they could easily shoot him. Kevin told Colonel Hayes that Nix was intelligent and peaceful, and that it should be treated as a person, not as an animal. Colonel Hayes laughed at Kevin's words. He said that Kevin was just a young scientist who had become too attached to a dangerous alien beast. The colonel told Kevin that he was being foolish and emotional, and that he did not understand the bigger picture of human security. Dr. Carter tried to support Kevin by explaining what they had learned about Nix's intelligence and peaceful nature. She showed Colonel Hayes the videos they had made of Nix solving problems and communicating. She also told him about the advanced technology and the possibility that Nix's species could be valuable allies for humans. Colonel Hayes was not interested in making friends with aliens. He had fought against hostile alien species on other planets, and he believed that all non-human life was potentially dangerous to humanity. He ordered his soldiers to fire tranquilizer darts at Nyx to knock the creature unconscious. When the first tranquilizer dart hit Nyx in the shoulder, the creature understood that the humans were trying to capture it. Nyx had been calm and peaceful around Kevin and Dr. Carter, but it became frightened and angry when it realized that these new humans wanted to hurt it. Nyx let out a loud roar that echoed through the valley and made all the soldiers step backward. The creature's yellow eyes began to glow brighter, and Kevin could feel waves of fear and anger coming from Nyx's mind. For the first time since Kevin had met it, Nyx looked truly dangerous. The tranquilizer dart was not strong enough to knock out such a large creature quickly. Nyx was still conscious and able to move, but the drug made it confused and unstable. The creature started moving in unpredictable ways, and the soldiers became more nervous. Colonel Hayes ordered his soldiers to fire more tranquilizer darts, but Nyx was moving too fast for them to aim properly. The creature jumped over rocks and ran between the soldiers, trying to find a way to escape. Some of the soldiers started shooting with their regular weapons. Even though Colonel Hayes had ordered them to capture Nyx alive, Kevin screamed at the soldiers to stop shooting, but they did not listen to him. One of the bullets hit Nyx in the back leg, and the creature stumbled and fell behind a large rock. Kevin could hear Nyx making sounds of pain and fear, and he felt like his heart was breaking. Dr. Carter grabbed Colonel Hayes' arm and begged him to stop the attack. She told him that Nyx was not trying to hurt anyone but was just scared and trying to get away. Colonel Hayes pushed her away and told his soldiers to surround the rock where Nyx was hiding, but when the soldiers reached the rock, Nyx was gone. The creature had found a narrow passage between the rocks that led to a system of caves deeper in the mountains. The soldiers tried to follow, but the passage was too small for humans to use safely. Colonel Hayes was very angry that Nyx had escaped. He blamed Kevin and Dr. Carter for warning the creature and helping it get away. He ordered his soldiers to search the entire mountain area and set up monitoring equipment to detect Nyx if it came back. Kevin knew that Nyx was hurt and scared, and he was worried that the creature would not survive alone in the dangerous mountain caves. The tranquilizer drugs were still in Nyx's system, and the bullet wound in its leg would make it hard for the creature to hunt for food or defend itself from other predators. That night, Kevin made a decision that he knew would change his life forever. He could not stay at the research station and pretend that nothing had happened while Nyx was suffering alone in the mountains. He had to find Nyx and help it, even if it meant becoming a fugitive from the military. Kevin packed a bag with medical supplies, food, and survival equipment. He also took the metal piece that he had removed from Nyx's paw, thinking it might be important for helping the creature later. Kevin knew that once he left the station to find Nyx, he would not be able to come back. Dr. Carter found Kevin as he was preparing to leave. She tried to convince him not to go, telling him that it was too dangerous and that he would be arrested if the soldiers caught him. But Kevin told her that he could not abandon Nyx when the creature needed him most. Dr. Carter realized that she could not stop Kevin from going. She gave him extra supplies and a communication device that could not be tracked by the military. She promised Kevin that she would try to delay the search parties and give him time to find Nyx. Kevin left the research station in the middle of the night and headed toward the mountains where Nyx had disappeared. He did not know if he would ever see other humans again, but he knew that he had to try to save his friend. Behind him, the research station's lights grew smaller and smaller until they disappeared completely in the darkness. Kevin spent 2 days searching through the mountain caves before he found Nyx. The creature was hiding deep inside a cave system, wounded and weak from the tranquilizer drugs and the bullet wound. When Kevin finally found Nyx, the creature was lying on the cold stone floor, barely breathing. Nyx lifted its head when it heard Kevin's voice, and its yellow eyes showed both relief and sadness. Kevin could feel through their psychic connection that Nyx had given up hope of ever being safe again. The creature believed that all humans were now its enemies, except for Kevin. Kevin immediately began treating Nyx's wounds. The bullet had gone through the creature's leg muscle but had not hit any bones. Kevin cleaned the wound and gave Nix antibiotics to prevent infection. He also gave the creature water and food, which Nix ate gratefully. Over the next few days, Kevin took care of Nix while they both hid in the caves. Kevin used his survival training to find water and edible plants. Nix, despite being hurt, helped Kevin by using its keen senses to detect dangerous animals that might threaten them. During the long hours in the cave, Kevin and Nix grew closer than ever before. Through their psychic connection, Nix shared more memories of its homeworld and its people. Kevin saw visions of beautiful Vorthak cities with crystal towers and floating gardens. He saw Vorthak families working together, taking care of their young, and exploring the stars and magnificent spaceships. Kevin also learned more about what had happened to the Vorthak civilization. A terrible cosmic disaster had destroyed their home planet and many of their colonies. Only a few thousand Vorthak had survived, scattered across different star systems in small groups. They had been searching for each other and for new homes for many years. Nix showed Kevin memories of its crash landing on this planet. Nix had been part of a small exploration team that was looking for habitable worlds where the surviving Vorthak could settle. Their ship had been damaged by a meteor storm, and they had crashed in the mountains. Nix's 3 companions had died in the crash, leaving Nix alone and stranded. Kevin felt deep sadness when he learned about Nix's loneliness and loss. He realized that Nix had been waiting for rescue for over 10 years, slowly losing hope that any other Vorthak would ever find this planet. The metal piece that had been stuck in Nix's paw was actually part of the ship's emergency beacon, which Nix had been trying to repair when it got injured. Kevin had an idea. He still had the metal piece with him, and during their time in the cave, he had been studying it with his portable scientific equipment. Kevin thought that if he could help Nix repair the beacon, they might be able to send a distress signal that other Vorthak ships could detect, working together. Kevin and Nix spent several days trying to fix the damaged beacon. Kevin used his knowledge of electronics and engineering, while Nix provided information about Vorthak technology through their psychic connection. It was difficult work because the technologies were so different, but slowly they began to make progress. Meanwhile, Colonel Hayes and his soldiers were still searching the mountains for Kevin and Nix. They had set up monitoring stations and were using drones to scan the cave systems. Kevin knew that it was only a matter of time before they would be found. On the 7th day in the caves, Kevin and Nix finally succeeded in repairing the beacon. The device began sending out a powerful signal that could travel across space to other star systems. Kevin was not sure if any Vorthak ships would detect the signal, but he hoped that somewhere in the galaxy, Nix's people were still searching for survivors. 3 days after they activated the beacon, something amazing happened. A Vorthak rescue ship detected the signal and came to investigate. The ship was small and carried only 5 Vorthak survivors, but they were overjoyed to find that Nix was still alive. Kevin watched from the cave entrance as the Vorthak ship landed in a clearing near the mountains. 3 Vorthak emerged from the ship, and Kevin could see that they looked similar to Nix but with different colored fur and slightly different body shapes. When they saw Nix, they made joyful sounds and rushed to embrace their long-lost friend. The reunion between Nix and the other Vorthak was emotional and beautiful. Kevin could feel waves of happiness and relief coming from all the creatures. Through his psychic connection with Nix, the Vorthak had their own ways of communicating that were much more complex than what Kevin had learned, and they spent hours sharing stories and information. The leader of the rescue team was an older Vorthak named Zara, whose fur was silver gray instead of black like Nix's. Through Nix's translation, Zara thanked Kevin for saving Nix's life and taking care of it during its long isolation. Zara told Kevin that the Vorthak would always remember his kindness and courage. Zara also told Kevin about the current situation of the Vorthak people. The survivors had found several suitable planets where they could build new homes, but they were still searching for all the missing members of their species. The rescue of Nix was important not just because they had saved one life, but because Nix carried valuable information about unexplored regions of space. As they talked, Kevin realized that Colonel Hayes and his soldiers were getting closer to finding them. The military drones had detected the Vorthak ship, and armed forces were moving toward their location. Kevin warned Zara about the danger, and the Vorthak began preparing to leave immediately. But before they left, Zara made an offer that surprised Kevin. She invited him to come with them and live among the Vorthak people. Zara said that Kevin had proven himself to be a true friend to their species, and that his knowledge and compassion would be valuable to their civilization. Kevin was torn by this offer. On one hand, he would be safe from Colonel Hayes and the military. He would also be able to continue learning about the amazing Vorthak culture and help them in their efforts to rebuild their civilization. On the other hand, leaving would mean giving up his human life forever and never seeing his own people again. Nyx seemed to understand Kevin's difficult choice. Through their psychic connection, Nyx showed Kevin that it would be happy if Kevin came with them, but that it would also understand if Kevin chose to stay with his own species. Nyx wanted Kevin to make the decision that would make him truly happy. Kevin thought about his life at the research station. He remembered how the other scientists had always made fun of him and dismissed his work. He thought about Colonel Hayes and the military's desire to use Nyx as a weapon. Kevin realized that he had never felt truly accepted or understood by most humans, except for Dr. Carter, but when Kevin was with Nyx and the other Vorthak, he felt like he belonged. These alien beings valued his compassion and curiosity. They respected his desire to help others and learn about the universe. Kevin realized that he had found his true calling among the stars. Kevin made his decision. He would go with Nyx and the Vorthak people. He quickly gathered his research notes and the few personal belongings he had brought with him. As the Vorthak ship prepared for takeoff, Kevin sent a final message to Dr. Carter, thanking her for her friendship and asking her to continue studying the peaceful interactions between different species. The ship lifted off just as Colonel Hayes and his soldiers reached the clearing. Kevin watched through the ship's windows as the research station and the planet grew smaller and smaller below them. He felt sad to leave his home world behind, but he was also excited about the adventures that awaited him among the stars. Kevin spent the rest of his life traveling with the Vorthak, helping them find other survivors and establish new colonies. He became the first human ambassador to an alien civilization, and his research on interspecies cooperation became the foundation for peaceful relationships between humans and many other species. Years later, when other humans met the Vorthak, for the first time they were amazed to find Kevin living happily among them. Kevin's story became famous throughout human space as an example of how compassion and understanding could bridge even the greatest differences between species. Kevin never regretted his choice to help Nyx, the small act of kindness that began with removing a thorn from an alien creature's paw had grown into something much larger, a friendship that changed the destiny of two entire civilizations and proved that the best of humanity could be found in the simple desire to help those in need.